You've got questions. We've got answers. We have the man to answer them. Jeffrey Levine from Buckingham Wealth Partners. Jeffrey, welcome back to another episode of Ask the Hammer.
Great to be back with you, Bob.
It's great to have you. I've got an inbox full of questions, and the first one goes like this. I'm looking for a definitive answer to the question of whether the $10,200 unemployment benefit exclusion for 2020 also affects the calculation of taxable Social Security benefits.
It's a really good question, and I don't blame the person who's asking this question for the confusion surrounding it, because the IRS has really changed their position on this a couple of times, changing the way the $10,200 exclusion works. And there's really three different ways of looking at this. So first off, when we're calculating whether an individual's income is below the $150,000 threshold or not, all of their unemployment compensation is eliminated. So if a person had $149,999 of W-2 wages, and then they got terminated, and then they received unemployment for the rest of the year, the rest of those unemployment amounts, not wages, but the rest of the unemployment amounts that they receive are eliminated from this calculation. And in fact, $10,200 of it would become income tax free, even though they had way more than the 150,000. Right? It's kind of interesting there. Then when you're actually counting their true AGI, when we're calculating that in, you can eliminate the up to $10,200 if you pass that first test. And then finally, when we're looking at how much of an individual's Social Security should be taxable, the specific question asked by the listener here, well, there you actually do include the full amount of the unemployment compensation. So you do not reduce the individual's income by the $10,200 that is excluded. You include all of it. And that same reasoning applies to a bunch of other situations as well, such as IRA contribution limits, EE bond, exclusion, et cetera. There's a number of scenarios where effectively, even if you're excluding the $10,200 to get to regular AGI, you don't double exclude it and then use that to help you exclude other income from AGI as well, including here, Social Security taxation.
Right. So if you were using the tax preparer, obviously they would catch that.
It depends when you were using the tax preparer. Unfortunately, a lot of tax systems were not up to speed on that, simply again because the IRS itself did change the way it wanted this to be calculated throughout the year, throughout this tax filing season. So by now, hopefully most software, I think all the major software at this point has been updated, but I would not simply count on that if you filed earlier this season, as many who took unemployment did, because if you're on unemployment, the chances of you maybe getting a refund might have been higher, especially if you were able to exclude some of that income. So it would not surprise me if some of those individuals submitted their tax return sooner. And unfortunately, there may be some mistakes there. Now, the IRS has said where a refund is due because an individual is able to exclude it, the IRS will process that amount automatically, even if it wasn't done on the return. That said, I think it's great in intention. I'm not so sure the execution is going to follow. Plus, states have all adopted different positions on this. And a lot of states are now going to require an individual to amend their return if indeed they want to lower their state income by perhaps that $10,200. So it's all over the place. It's kind of a disaster and a nightmare. And for that reason, I say in most instances, if I was an individual who had already filed a return, I probably would look to potentially amend that return just to make everything crystal clear and leave no stone unturned.
All right, Jeffrey, once again, nailed the question for that reader, and I'm sure many others who had a similar question.
Yeah, unfortunately, last year we had, historically high levels of unemployment, particularly early in the year, right after the pandemic hit. So this does, in fact, impact a tremendous number of people this filing season. But of course, we want to hear all sorts of questions. And if you've got a question, we'd love to hear it. So give Bob and I a shout. Email us at askthehammer@buckinghamgroup.com. Again, that's askthehammer@buckinghamgroup.com.